Thank you for watching the Whittemore Community Magazine's Hour of Power Live on Facebook with your host Edward McQueen and April Garner.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon. You're listening to, and we're streaming live on Facebook, the Whittemore Community Magazine, Hour of Power, right here on Facebook. I'm your co-host, Ed McQueen. Of course, you can see she says I'm your host. All right. And our host, of course, is Mr. April Garner, Miss Sugar Hill. It would be remiss. A lot has happened over this past week since our last broadcast, and I don't know if we can get it all in this half hour, especially since we're expecting our guests to come on and fill you in on the return of one of our important assets in the community, and they're going to come on and give us a rundown of what's coming. So that's at 6:30. But for now, we want to kind of recap and get some feedback from our viewers on some of the issues that came up. They're very, very important issues. You know what we're talking about. Number one is some of the protests that are going on and the impact that it has had and impact it's going to have on from here to the elections. Most notably, but would be remiss if we didn't begin with our condolences, sending out our condolences. Do you want to stay local this time? Since we are international.
We're global. We're global.
Yeah, we're international.
There you go.
But those who are in our surrounding economies who are we're sure are looking at us on our Facebook. We'll start with our jurisdiction. We'll send our condolences, our best wishes, and we had one person who turned 105 years old.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay, 105 years old. Congratulations to her. So we usually start with our jurisdiction and alphabetically, and we say that every time, but we we deviate. So, but I can kick it off with like Aner, and Allentown, Myrtle Beach, Long, South Carolina, Little River, Big River. Sand Ridge, Georgetown, Warpie, Marion, King, Green Sea, Lower South Carolina. We are with you, and we're going to make sure that you are in tune to all the latest information that you need to know. Okay, so I'll continue on with did I say Loris? We're talking about Merle's Inlet, right? Choppy, Ain't Village, Jackson Village.
You doing a good job?
Yeah, Paul's Island. Hand community out there, Long South Carolina.
I'm finally gonna make this list, and because we were talking about making a list for like the past 4 years. I'm gonna make a list, and I'm gonna check them off every time you get them right. And I know we'll never have every community.
I think that I have them in my head, because there's a lot of them. There's a lot of them around. Like the Gresham community out there. Columbia, South Carolina. Believe it or not, Columbia. Well, we can spread it on to Washington D.C. We've gotten some feedback, especially on our radio broadcast. Washington D.C., New York City, Long Island, New York, Jersey, Pennsylvania, and I'll note that as we name these jurisdictions, please know that something has been going on in just about every city that we're naming, okay, outside of South Carolina. So we'll get to that topic in a minute. But to all of our listeners, and those of you across the globe, we want to certainly appreciate your viewership, and hopefully we can start some dialogue that could benefit everybody in some kind of way. Okay, and that's the purpose of we call it a community magazine, Hour of Power, but that's the world community. Okay, the whole world is our community. So that's what we mean. So we kick things off by asking for your feedback as we talk. You can chat with us, or you can send us a comments on the Facebook regarding the issues that we want to bring up, and we just want to know how you feel about this. Okay, so April, we'll start off with the protests, and I won't call them protests, we call them demonstrations. And one thing I wanted to know, I'm going to expound on just a little from a historical perspective later on in the show about these things that have been going on since the 1960s, okay, and the 70s, and how the methods really haven't changed a lot, except that now it's really global for one cause, and that is police brutality. Okay, but I think racism is the umbrella for all of that, and that's what the world is now taking note of. So, April, do you want to kick off with your thoughts on?
No, I want you to share your thoughts.
Okay, what we want our viewers to do, we want our viewers to really give us some feedback, and just let us know, what you're thinking, so that we can take that, and maybe on our next broadcast or the broadcast afterwards, we take these things to help make decisions on who we're going to bring on the show, okay, as a guest, and our guests can answer some of the questions that we can't answer. Because I'm sure there are going to be some questions coming from our viewing audience about the issue of we'll just say umbrella issue of racism and the methods that are being used today. So having said that, since we only got a half hour before our guest comes on, I wanted to expound on a couple of things. One is, since we're talking about, we're not talking about solutions yet. Everybody's been lamenting problems, okay? The problem that's at hand. But a solution that I had noticed, and I haven't heard any leaders speak up on. If they are, they must have I'd say a valid reason. And that is the absence. I don't know if everybody's seeing that. The absence of Black policemen in these demonstrations. Okay, it's like it's a fraternity that is hard to break into in order to become a policeman in some of these cities. And I can say the same thing really for firemen. Now, there's a lot you can read about the reasons why these things occur like that, but to get information from our audience, our viewers, maybe they can share some insight as to what they know about why these things are not occurring. And like I said, having said all of that, is the absence of Black policemen and why we feel that they're important to have some impact on the incidents that are happening. Even though they're videotaped, I'm saying that there should be a push to get, and if anything, even affirmative action. Okay, I know a lot of people don't want to hear that. They think it's unfair. No, but I think that would go a long way towards eliminating some of these incidents that are happening between police and the Black community. Okay, because every incident that has happened that has triggered a demonstration or protest has been a white policeman with the Black person being the victim of his actions or her actions. And seemed to me that should trigger someone with the proposal to say maybe the solution is what if that policeman had confronted that Black person that policeman had been a black person, would the outcome have been the same? Okay, or would it have been perceived as the same? I, for one, don't think so. I think I think it would have been handled differently. And I could be wrong. I don't know the policy. I'm not. I know some of the policies because they've been conveyed to me at one of the forums. But I just believe the outcome would have been different, and we probably wouldn't have been in all this turmoil had there been ample black policemen to handle these cases. I just don't think so. And I'd like to get the viewers' feedback on this, and maybe it can be projected to the rest of wherever we're projecting our program to. So again, the issue to me is that the importance of having a having black police presence in these neighborhoods, but it seemed like, not that we're committing all the crime, but if crime is happening, and you know, that we've given the perception, or the media has given the perception that, you know, it's happening in most of the black neighborhoods, and because of circumstance. However, our circumstance, I'm going to say our too, our circumstance create behavior and situations where crime will, a crime or an offense may come into play as a result of, for example, poverty, education, lack of jobs, whatever. Besides that, that was looking at the root of it. But I just think that the absence of black policemen is so noticeable now to me, and I don't know why we haven't seen an outcry from some leaders, especially black leaders, that maybe they should try that, maybe, even an affirmative action, to get more black policemen. I don't think, from what I know, I mean, based on the records that some of these departments, the records of some of the policemen that they've hired, some of those policemen don't need to be on that force. Okay. And one is the latest edition, where the gentleman, the policeman that handled George, my understanding is that in the Minneapolis Police Department, he had 18 complaints against him. You know, that kind of person should not have been on the street dealing with the community. You know. So that's my take on that. If anybody wants to, again, we've got another 15 minutes to go, but we thought it was valuable to talk about this. April and I had some discussions on that, and I just thought that this was the most opportune time to do that.
I guess I just have to wonder, and I hope everyone understands. You know, I know that we've always heard the term affirmative action. We've always heard that. Does everyone really understand what you mean? And also the fact that in 2012, affirmative action pretty much went away when it comes down to employment and college admissions, things that were impacted by affirmative action. And if I'm understanding your position on it, you're saying that you think that the presence of more Black police officers, or Black police officers and or other minorities, or Black police officers, period, would deter some of the activity that we see in terms of the police officers who are habitual offenders and, are constantly using excessive force and things of that nature. I don't know. I think that's a part of it, but I don't know if that would be it entirely. Like that would be the solution. You and I talked about this earlier, and I've been thinking about it since then, mainly because there just seems to be either maybe it's spoken, I don't know, but I think the perception is that there's some kind of an unspoken code in the fraternal order, wherein, you know, if there's a particular officer doing something, especially if that person might be a senior officer or whatever the case is, that you don't encroach upon what they're doing, especially if you are a new officer or whatever the case is. So I don't know that being a Black officer is going to stop that. I think that it's systemic, and affirmative action might be one part of it, to make sure that if we as brown people, Black people, are in your face, maybe there's less likely the chance that you will see this kind of activity. But who's to say having more police officers on the force wouldn't heighten certain activity, especially if you are dealing with, to your point, a certain kind of person. I think it really goes back to the vetting process, and whether or not law enforcement has the opportunity to vet these officers or these candidates who want to be police officers to the point of really understanding their backgrounds, their morals, their beliefs, their values, their affiliations, and all that, and then using that information to pretty much determine whether or not they would be an essential asset to the force, not just from the standpoint of physical strength or ability, but from the standpoint of that those interpersonal qualities and those things that are related to societal and even cultural sensitivities. I think what we've been dealing with a lot in these past couple of weeks, just from the comments alone on social media, is a question of whether or not people want to understand or they don't understand. And I believe that it's more about people not really wanting to understand. Because if I'm your Black friend, so to say, and I say that this particular thing offends me, there is no if, and, or but after that. If you are my white friend and you say that this particular thing offends me, there is no if, and, or but about that. We can choose to have a conversation and sit down, talk about it, figure out how we can coexist and still love one another in spite of our differences. And I don't know that that's happening in the realm of what's going on with all of this racial unrest. People, it's almost like people just want to have a position on something. You know, they just want to be right about a particular point. We've gotten away from the point of it all. And if we go back to the point of it all, 8 minutes, 46 seconds, Officer Chauvin was kneeling on George Floyd's neck, which resulted in his death. And there's no way to look around that, through that, above that, or below that to find anything other than what it was, which was excessive force that killed that particular person, regardless of what led to that moment. There was a use of excessive force. At that point, his right to due process was taken away. At that point, his right to prove his innocence in the midst of being accused of being guilty of something was taken away. It's almost like that officer made the decision right then and there when he decided to kneel on his neck, and in a matter of fact kind of way. So I think, and you and I talked about this earlier, and I believe you are working on it, conversations with law enforcement to put that particular thought in front of them. You know, looking at it from the standpoint of, you know, what are you actually training your officers to do beyond pulling a Glock, pulling a baton, using handcuffs, whatever it is that they're taught to do on the force to subdue someone? What are you teaching them about the sensitivities that exist and the consequences behind their actions? Because I'm not saying that no that the, you know, police chiefs and training specialists and all that everywhere are remiss in doing that. But there is a disconnect somewhere that these officers who continuously do what they're doing feel that it's okay for them to do it. And that part is the most disturbing part. And from a societal standpoint, the fact that someone can defend it and then look beyond what actually happened. It's like, you know, we go from A to Z when we have these discussions with anybody, whether it's really social media is no place to have a discussion if you're trying to discuss something on the thread. But that's where the discussions happen, because that is our biggest connector right now. And until we can get to a point where we can really sit down and have these discussions, and I can look my white brother or sister in the face and say, so, and I'm gonna say white brother or sister, but I'm also gonna say it like this. My racist white brothers and sisters, because God says we're all connected. But if I'm going to look you in the face and I'm going to ask you what makes you hate me so much, what makes you want to harm me, what makes you automatically think that I'm going to do something that is criminal just because of my aesthetic. Until we can sit down and have that conversation and get to the heart of that answer, I don't know that anything else is going to work or even matter. I heard, okay, so today, Reverend Barber and the Poor People's Campaign observed Moral Monday, National Day of Fasting and Focus, where today at 5 p.m., everyone was supposed to pause, or they asked people to pause for 8 minutes and 46 seconds, which is equivalent to the amount of time it took to kill George Floyd, kneeling on his neck. Okay, the officer kneeling on his neck. And I paused for those 8 minutes and 46 seconds. You were to pause, say nothing, just pause. And I thought about it. What could I do in the matter of 8 minutes and 46 seconds? I could have started dinner, put a load of clothes in the laundry. I could have scrambled an egg, made a sandwich. I could have made 4 phone calls. Brother Edward, it is unfathomable that someone would be, you know? And so I know that I don't think it's a topic that has one concrete solution. Just like you said, maybe affirmative action is a start.
I think so.
It could be a start.
Yeah.
But I think also you have to have parties who are intentional about what that looks like, and also intentional about the consequences for their officers and their staff if they aren't willing to comply with anything that protects people who don't look like themselves or whatever.
Now more than ever for affirmative action, because that takes the pressure off of existing white policemen who now are perceived as the enemy by young people. Okay, and you know, if that's what they're going to continue to see, then they'll look at the whole department like that. And all the police, they're not against us. Okay, we can't say that. But we can't weed out those ones that are, you know. But if you put I think affirmative action were implemented, and you had some black policemen in black neighborhoods, you know, I think you would have more community behind the police, more community organization behind the police, because they would want that to succeed. I've seen it happen in Washington, D.C. I mean, really, and certain parts of Maryland. They want their community to succeed, and you know, you might have a bad black policeman, okay, for that matter. But I think for the most part, I think it should be given a start. I really think so. It's especially for young people now, and this helps the whole department. Okay, again, we can't look at the whole department as being the enemy, and we're there to protect us. But if there was some you hired enough of black policemen, especially to going into to black neighborhoods. You can call it segregation, separation, whatever you want to call it. Okay, but if it works, you better use it. Okay, get them in the neighborhoods, be part of the community. I mean, they can be hired from the community. I mean, the police department may have something against hiring somebody within the community.
Well, sometimes the candidates do, because the candidates are so, and I know this because I work in career services, and I know you and I have actually worked with law enforcement to try and push their job listings, and
right.
They've been on the Whittemore Community Magazine before, the police
right.
chiefs,
right.
And I've talked to candidates who've said, I'd love to, but I'm too close to it. And I can't get in there because there is it's such a gray area. Whereas if you have someone who is from the community, are they really going to have the ear of the community, or will the community shy away from them because now they're the popo? You know what I mean? It's a catch-22 that we have to, that we have to recognize. And it might be interesting. I know you're putting together or trying to put together a show with law enforcement. It might be interesting to hear from some Black officers who, to get their views on, what their intrinsic feelings are about that, or get some feedback on what the challenges really are. Because, maybe it is worth it, and it might be good for engagement purposes to have a presence, in the Black community, our people seeing our people. At the same time, I've kind of seen both, where it works and it doesn't work. It may be different from community to community. So it's like there's several different conversations that need to happen. Law enforcement and then the community. The community needs to, in a lot of ways, step up to some things. And that's why I think everybody is trying to really push the concepts behind getting together, really pulling together for change, because one or two people can't do it. You and I can't do it alone. Even law enforcement can't do it alone. There have to be, lots of people who are on the same page pushing for that change.
Absolutely. And that's what I'm really trying to get across. I think you said much of what I would like to say. Historically, that has worked. Okay, mm-hmm. Having Black policemen. I'm talking about many years ago. I mean, having Black policemen when the cry was for integration of the forces. Before that point. Okay, it worked. I mean, it's a policeman struck fear in us as a teenager. Mm-hmm. Okay, our police in our community, they struck fear in us. And I appreciate that now, that they struck that kind of fear. That caused me not to want to do a lot of criminal activity, whereas if I had nothing else to do, I might would have done it. I mean, it occurred in the community anyway, but not on a scale that people expected. Okay. I mean, you'll hear about it for days and weeks if somebody stole anything, So, but the presence of policemen, it struck fear, which is what they want. Okay, what the community should want, especially parents. Let your child be respectful of the police. I don't want to say fearful of him, but enough respect that they know that if they do anything wrong, that the policeman is going to engage in either apprehending him or her, or calling for some kind of community dialogue if it gets out of hand. Okay. Now, don't get me wrong. I think it has happened in Conway where the past, with the administration of Conway Police has had some dialogue, and I thought the communication has been adequate. They've had programs to address community needs and worked in a proactive way. They've got programs in place, and they've implemented them. You know, so nothing against them. I think, but again, to really be proactive, you know, we should look at that also. Okay, having especially these young teenagers respecting police, and if they had enough black policemen patrolling in these neighborhoods, I mean, they can look and see something and say that's what I want to be. Okay, I want to be a policeman. I think that's great. You know, it's try it.
I think you're an optimist.
Huh? What? Yeah.
I think you're, yeah.
Well,
yeah.
If there's no optimism, there's no hope.
Yeah.
So I'll be an optimist. If there's no optimism, and there's no hope. But we tried everything else. We tried everything else. Same thing in Minneapolis. In those big cities, I just don't see enough. Okay, I think had the situation been reversed, where there was a black policeman with his knee on that guy's neck, I don't know how that if it would have played out like that. I just don't know. Okay, I just don't know. But every time, see, it's bad. I think when every time you see it's a white policeman with a black victim, now you've caused the community to look at the whole department as racist, you know, and look at all policemen there as brutal, and it's nothing that you want to be like. You don't want to be a part of something like that. But the police, I think the department should be a model where a young man that's growing up or a young woman growing up wants to be a police person, police woman or a policeman, and want to gravitate towards joining the police force.
Well, I think it has. I think that the police force, law enforcement, is going to have a really big job of changing perceptions of law enforcement before that happens. And I called you an optimist because once upon a time, you know, and I can remember when, you know, I was a child, you know, naturally, and most children, before they begin to understand things of the world, you know, they talk about wanting to be police officers, firefighters, teachers, doctors, lawyers, things of that nature. You know, it's like I don't want to call it a fairy tale now, but, you know, I think the innocence of all of that has definitely been tarnished because of all of the things that were happening. I mean, if you think back, when City of Conway did the C-STAND program and things were happening in Charleston, the Walter Scott, the Emmanuel 9, the things that were going on across the country with Sandra Bland and Trayvon Martin. And it was very difficult for law enforcement to recruit because people just did not believe in law enforcement anymore as protectors of citizens, all citizens. And so before law enforcement can get back to being what you just described it to the young person who is trying to figure out what they want to do in life or looking for examples in their communities of what they want to be or become, they really have an uphill battle with that. And that's unfortunate because just like you said, you know, yes, there's good law enforcement. There are good officers out there who are working hard right now, every day to protect and serve, and others are making it difficult for them. And I think that, you know, from that standpoint, not only is it it's not just an affirmative action piece, it goes back to the whole systemic issue and, you know, how they change that brand. The law enforcement now has a new brand, and the brand is not palatable. It's not anything that anybody wants to be associated with. And it's hard for anyone who is good in law enforcement to explain. And because, I mean, think about it. I can only imagine that the average police officer who approaches a situation, they're probably already thinking, okay, we got some challenges because there are people who are fired up and who have certain perceptions about us because of everything that's going on. So now everybody's guard is up. And so in order to change that, there's going to have to, they have to put some things in place from even a branding standpoint. And that kind of stuff is not going to happen with just a marketing push. You know, they have to have evidence to show that they have worked on the inside to change the culture that has been perpetuated by all of these bad situations that have totally blemished their aesthetic, so to say. I was watching the Black Enterprise webinar that happened today, and there were a couple of things, but the actual name of that program was The Pandemic of Racism. It was so incredible. And the Reverend Franklin Richardson was speaking along with Robert Smith. And there were three things that Reverend Franklin said that, you know, really made me just stop and think. And I took notes on this actual webinar. And Brother Edward, I am watching the time. I'm waiting for Grace and James to pop back into the view before we add them back.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
But Reverend Franklin said, number one, that this is an opportunity for people who are not Black to speak up. So we have to understand that we can't be in this fight by ourselves. It's not that we don't have the power. It's just that we're more powerful if we have others who can help move the needle. And the reality of that is that they have to be our brothers and sisters of non-color, okay? The second thing he said was, this is an opportunity for African Americans to be cautious not to participate in our further demise. And that could be a mental thing, that can be a physical thing. It could be a lot of things that, you know, could easily perpetuate themselves as we move through this. For example, the perception of looters versus demonstrators. As African Americans, we have to make sure we're not participating as looters, because they're definitely different from the demonstrators, okay? And then the third thing he said was, we've got to listen to the young people because their voices are important. And so one thing that we definitely need to do is talk to the young people about their perceptions of law enforcement and their perceptions of choosing law enforcement as a career path, because you know, truth of the matter, I don't think law enforcement is going to recruit me or you. We too old and too slow, but they need to, but they need to get those, you know, 21-year-olds and up, you know, who can make it happen. And they need to, you know, put their ear to the streets and talk to the young people who can help make it happen and give them some ideas. So hopefully some of these young people who've been a part of the demonstrations as organizers or even as just participants will be more than willing to sit down with law enforcement to say, you know, this is how it affects us in our community. This is our perception. And if you want to recruit from our generation, then this is what's going to have to change. And if they can lift their voices, all X millions of them, then maybe some real things will happen in America. And it has to be X million of different colors, races, creeds, and nationalities. So that's where we are with that.
Okay, I'm going to say this and then we get ready for Grayson out, James. I want to recall one major, in my lifetime, one major demonstration with, you know, a lot of people that assembled at one time, but no violence whatsoever. And you know what that was back in 1995. That was the Million Man March. Maybe we need to get some of their advisors on how to conduct it and organize it and so forth.
I was a participant in the Million Woman March in Philadelphia. It was beautiful.
I think we were all of us. Of course, you know, I was
beautiful.
You know, I was there.
So, yeah, I know you were there. Mm-hmm.
But that's I don't think anything is parallel to that yet. Okay. Usually you can get 1,000 of men together and you're going to fight. You're going to be fighting and or looting. Somebody's going to step on somebody's foot, you know. But 1 million, close to 2 million people. Yeah. But anyway. the other issue I wanted, you mentioned about what you were listening to today regarding a program on, but now just over the weekend. Now this is this is unprecedented. Okay, Bob Johnson, who was the former CEO of BET, he was the owner of BET. This man is asking for reparations. This is as a result of all this stuff that's going on. Okay, and based on statistics that I don't have time to spell out now, but statistics that it would cause many blacks, including us, to be behind, and the issue of not being able to ever catch up in our lifetime. Anyway, so he's asking for $14 trillion in reparation. Now, I think once people read that, they really should interpret that right. It's not money that what I think they're asking for. It's, that can be in the form of education, more health care, free health care, and other ways. I wouldn't want those dollars. I mean, that's even though precedent has been set, with the Japanese getting $25,000, stuff like that, as a result of their internment in World War II, and Jewish Americans, with reparation themselves. Okay. But if anybody wants to chime in, and if they, some of our viewers want to send us a comment on that, you're certainly welcome. But I just wanted to bring that up, that the mere fact that it's coming from Bob Johnson. Okay. Actually, he's a Trump supporter. Okay.
Mm-hmm. I was going to make that point. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he's a Trump supporter. Mm-hmm. Okay. But notwithstanding his support for Trump, that's okay. I mean, we're nonpartisan here. Okay. Mm-hmm. We try to be as much as possible. But to ask for $14 trillion, that's, and something maybe worth more than that. But I think for starters, he's saying 14 trillion. But he goes to outline a lot of things that that $14 trillion could be in the form of. And I implore people to go ahead and go on the internet and just type in Bob Johnson's request for reparation. I think it would be good reading and something to take and digest, so we can and create dialogue on. So are we ready for our?
I think we are. I see them in the lobby. I'm gonna go ahead and let them in. Yeah.
At the famous Asher Theater.
Yes. There we go.
Oh, come on. Oh no.
What's going on? What's happening? Can you guys hear me all right?
The rent is going on and on.
All right, good. What's happening? Asher Theater's back. Yeah, we're back. Yeah, Asher Theater. We're in 2 weeks. We'll be open, and with 2 tribute shows with for the price of one. The Ray Charles tribute and Sam Cooke tribute. Of course, I'm the man of 1,000 voices. I'm doing the Ray Charles, and a friend of mine from Kansas City is doing Sam Cooke. It's going to be awesome.
Oh, okay. I thought you were doing Sam Cooke.
I wish I could sing like Sam. He's a tenor, so I can't sing the tenor. I'm more of a Ray Charles. I'm like, yo, baby, that's fantastic, guy. But yes, it's going to be absolutely incredible. We've been doing some really great things. I've been hearing you guys talking about the march, what's happening, protesting or the demonstrations. But we had like a night of prayer at the Asher Theater on Friday night to just basically try to bring people together to say, hey, we got to pray. All of us got to take a knee. You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely.
We all have to take a knee. So it's this thing that's happening is something going to change. I think out of the ashes, something beautiful is going to happen in the country. And I think so. Yeah, I think
everybody thinks that.
You were talking about the reparations. I think that's a great way to start. I think that's going to be awesome. I think that once they get in court, then those things can be broken down. But I think that the lawsuit for $14 trillion is a good thing. I think that African Americans or descendant of Africans that actually worked for this country and built this country should be rewarded. I really think so. We came to talk about the Asher. We're opening. See, here's my Asher. I don't know. You can see my T-shirt. Let me get close. Here it is. You see this? We survived
the COVID.
That's right. And so we're going to be selling them at the theater and $2 from everyone for every T-shirt. We're going to put it in, put it together, and then we're going to give it to people who are struggling during the COVID, because there's a lot of our brothers and sisters, don't have food, and they have like 3 or 4 kids. This has been tough being unemployed like this. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I wish you'd talked to us earlier. Sister English could make all those shirts, right, April?
No, man. We survived. It's been basically, hopefully the people that took this time off to reinvent themselves, and like I said, come out the ashes. That 2020 means something else now. I guess people were saying 2020 vision now. I wish we could stuff coming, but you got the COVID. A lot of people aren't even talking about the COVID. They basically talking about the protest more than they talk about the COVID. Out in the streets, just running out in the streets. There's nobody a lot of them, people didn't have masks on, and they were like armed. So, I think that you got to talk about our health as well. So you got, we probably know the COVID now. So as long as these people are healthy, they know that they can't go home to their grandmothers and grandparents. The people
right.
30-year-old people, they'll get over the COVID because it's like a cold. You wash your hands, you clean yourself up, but you can't go home and hug your grandmother. So hopefully people listen. So we got matter of fact, we got 4 shows. So you got to know that we got a show at 2:00 and one at 5:00. We made them early because this show is probably for older people who know Sam Cooke and Ray Charles. So we got 2:00 p.m. show on Friday, 5:00 on Friday, 2 on Saturday, 5:00 on Saturday. And then we got our other shows are coming back the following weekend. I'm coming back with the Man of 1,000 Voices. And then 4th of July weekend, we bring in the Detroit City Boys, the Motown group. They're coming back, Detroit City Boys, on 4th of July weekend. And so hopefully by that time, everything will be open and we'll be, maybe to full capacity, but we don't know yet.
Yeah, but you mind explaining how you abiding by the distance rule now, the social distance rule now inside?
Yes, from the governor gave us some guidelines to open. So we normally seat 350 seats. We're only seating 80 people in the theater, and everyone is 6 feet apart. We have sanitizers all over the place. We're offering masks if you didn't bring your own mask. If you want to wear a mask, we're going to be taking your temperature at the door. And so we followed all guidelines to make it a great show. Even we only have 4 musicians on stage, so they're 6 feet apart. So it should be pretty good.
Yeah, I'm sure people can appreciate that. The way
you can always go to the AsherTheater.com. You know what I'm saying, to figure out and online we'll talk about we have everything that's coming up and whatever. So a lot of people are interested. A lot of older people are calling right now, and a lot of people calling to come to see the show because it should be pretty good. If you like the music of Ray Charles and Sam Cooke, I think that Father's Day weekend. Oh, and fathers get in for free, by the way. Fathers get in for free with a paid gas. Yes, so it's pretty cool. So
well, you want to have a lot of fathers.
Fathers are bringing the moms. My wife can come fill you guys in on a lot of things. Honey, you want to come in and say something?
Yeah. Hey guys.
Hi. How are you?
On the show, everybody. We're excited. We're excited about just reopening and connecting with the community. What James didn't mention is that we just got our 501c3 designation as CDC, so the Asher Community Development Corp. And through that, we can continue to do a lot of the things that we've been doing already for the community. I mean, I think a lot of you know that we partner a lot with the community, more so I'd say any other theater. I mean, it doesn't matter what race, creed, You know, people are doing things at the Asher and we're supporting them. I know that there's another radio station that's wanting to do something to talk about race. We're open to doing that. There's just churches. We have a new church that's going to be starting up at the Asher, the Rise Church.
Of course, this weekend we're showing the racial indemnity. That the movie, we're showing that at the theater.
Right.
This weekend is racial relations, whatever. It's amazing all this stuff's happening at the same time.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, we're showing a film. It's going to be 2:00 on, I think, is it? Sunday, 2:00 on Sunday. It's a really great film, you know. And
right. And that's the kind of thing that we do. And like I said, we have a church that's going to be starting up on Sundays called Rise Church, using the theater to actually. Yeah, I don't know if you heard about Rise, but
the Rise Community Church, they're very they're very inclusive.
Non-denominational, they're inclusive. But everything based on biblical principles. And we also have another church. I don't know if you know Tracy Troy out of North Carolina. Pastor Tracy Troy will be also having something at the theater. But all of this to say, we've been doing a lot with children. We've had hundreds of children come to the theater for different programs that we have, acting lessons and different actors. We had an actor that came in who was part of Nickelodeon that came in just to train some of the rising stars, the kids around here in the community, both Conway and Myrtle Beach area. So we're excited about the CDC right now, and that's going to help us to really grow the theater in terms of just making sure that we remain connected to the community. That is our strongest base. It's not the tourists, and we purposefully did that from the start. We knew that was going to be our base. The other thing is we have Man of a Thousand Voices coming back after the Motown show, and not Motown, after the Ray Charles and Sam Cooke show, then the Man of a Thousand Voices, and Motown is coming back. It's Motown 59 for us. That's our overarching title. And it's Detroit City Boys is one group. And then we have the
Soul Knights.
Soul Knights is the other group.
And that Soul Knights is the local group. They're really great. You know, they're going to be starting back the second week of July.
Yeah. So, you know, just go onto the Asher Theater website. We did send out an email blast. If you're not on our mailing list, feel free to hop on there so that you can know of the different things that's going on.
And the Rise Church is out of DC. Edward, the covering for this church is the
Grace.
Grace
Covenant.
Grace Covenant Church, and the pastor there is the no, I'm not talking. Well, he's Sinbad's brother-in-law, but he's also the chaplain for the Washington Redskins. So Art Monk and a lot of those people are on their board. So.
Oh, really? Art. Okay.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Grace. I don't know. I like to call it Grace. Your doctor.
That's fine. Grace is fine.
Steve, could you would you like to elaborate a little on your, not just your accomplishments, but you are you're
Chancellor. Yeah. I'm Chancellor of McCormick College in Chicago. The college is the third oldest two-year private college in the nation. We have programs like what we were talking about when we talk about the need to bring in more criminal justice professionals and police officers who are people of color, who are African American. That's something that we are an advocate of. As a matter of fact, the program director for our criminal justice program is Hispanic. And we do have a number of African American students at the college, although we're not, we're not predominantly Black, but either way, that is, if there's anybody that's interested in taking an online criminal justice program from an absolutely incredible criminal justice professional who has done a lot in his career. We even have FBI agents teaching our classes. Feel free to reach out to me at the Asher Theater and we'll hook you up. We actually have a special sort of tuition break for South Carolina students.
Oh, really?
Yeah, for South Carolina students. So we'll definitely give you a break. That's because I'm here. So I'm really excited about that. And I really do care. I care about the student experience. I started off in student personnel. So my heart is with the students first And then I, transitioned into higher ed administration. But with everything that's going on, I think there's just one thing I want to leave you with is just the power of knowledge and the power of education. I just feel that for us to really rise as a people and get what we need done, we need to have knowledge, the knowledge that you guys are sharing on your radio station, the knowledge that is, that you're reading about in different places, that we're sharing on the network, and all of those things. Keep yourself abreast of what is going on and form your own opinions. It's like, I'm also a minister, and I say, you don't listen to every single person that's preaching the gospel and take that as law. No, you form your own opinions, and you form opinions based on knowledge. So I think it's really important.
What does Hosea 4:6 says that I say in all my shows?
Go ahead.
The people will be destroyed by lack of knowledge.
Mm-hmm. Key. That's the key. Stay in tune with what's going on. Listen to the people that's really disseminating the truth, because that's what you need. Knowledge is the truth. And I think together we'll be able to rise. But if we remain ignorant, if we stick our, heads in the sand and act as if these things are not happening, we will not reach our goals. And finally, and last but not least, the Lord thy God is our Savior. We have to make sure that we keep him first. I have to say that in everything that we do, the greatest 2 commandments, love God, love your neighbors. If we will get this thing right. Unfortunately, people are not doing that. Now is the time for us to show who we are and whose we are in Christ, and stand for what we know to be right, the truth, and allow us to be the beacon of light that people need to see.
Well, we appreciate you guys having us on.
Yeah.
Well, Grace, I think what you just said offsets your mama jokes that my brother that comes with.
Your mama jokes, there's a whole story behind that, though.
Your mama jokes are very positive and raise the kids in South Carolina. So we better keep pushing those your mama jokes, because you know what? I think the problems with the country is, and African Americans, is that we have, instead of 20/20 vision, we have blurred vision, because Hebrews 29:18 says, where there is no vision, the people will perish. And what happens is we've lost a lot of vision. So we have to get back on board to who we are. Instead of saying we're African Americans, we have to realize we're Africans living in America. And so what did we do? When we knew we were Africans living in America, we were one. But now we're Africans, living in America. We have to understand that what we're here for. We're supposed to be here for everybody, for each other. That's the way it used to be. If I saw you across downtown after 6 o'clock, we had each other back. So that's what we got to get back to knowing that we are a race of people. And, we've been dissected and put in a place where we think that just because one of us, we have more money in the United States than Black people have more money than we ever had in our history. And we still don't have a beautiful Black hotel or an elitist Black college. That's what I'm aiming for. I'm hoping that we can do that. I think that we can get together, and that's what we have to have. We got to have our Black universities our Black universities got to be, they want to come to our university, and that's what that should happen.
Absolutely.
And we got to get the state. What happened is the state got to get out of our family business, because the state's gotten in our family business, because you know what? When we start spanking our kids.
Well, guys, thank you so
much. Thanks a lot. God bless.
We're going to put you in the pulpit. You need to be in the pulpit.
You're talking about my wife, right?
No, you need to be in the pulpit.
I would do your mama jokes. I can't.
Well, look, if your mama doesn't apply, then they have nothing to worry about. So
we're all good. God is good. We appreciate having us on. Right.
Yes, thank you. Thank you guys for returning to the community, and we're gonna make sure that the communities we're all embracing each other. Okay, and we're glad to have you guys back.
We're gonna make
guys.
it
work.
All right. Bye-bye.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay, so April, it's 7:01.
It is. It's 7:01. We've had quite a discussion here, Brother Edward, and ended it well with James and Grace Stevens from the Asher Theater, letting us know what kind of good times they're bringing back. I'm sure those shows are going to be fabulous and probably much needed by the time, they're ready to go. So, Yeah, but lots more to discuss at a later date. Do we have things lined up for next week, or are we going to just kind of work on some of the things that some of the irons you were talking about that are in the fire?
Yeah, here's what we're working on. Well,
Okay.
we're working on getting the local law enforcement, the heads of the law enforcement, to come on, if not together, or one at a time, so forth. So I think all that blends in with what's happening today, and we need to hear from them, on the progress that they're making, and so any input from the community. I would implore, I would implore the community to really listen to this program that's coming up next Monday, so that they can provide input to, if we're successful at having them on, they can provide input to the law enforcement to make things even better. Okay. And I'm sure, and the law enforcement would appreciate that, because they always want community input, to help them make decisions that's going to impact our lives in a more constructive way. So yeah, that's what we're working on. All right.
Okay, sounds good. Let me know. Good. Be ready. Yep.
You'll be ready.
I'll be ready. All
right. We'll buy that. So until next week, listen, thank you, our viewing audience.
Yes.
And we really appreciate your viewerships. Give us some feedback. You don't have to give it to us right now. Just when you see the recorded version, because it's going to be uploaded, especially to the website, right?
Mm-hmm. It'll be uploaded to WCM, WCMagazine.net. WCMagazine.net, and then also to our YouTube page.
Right. Mm-hmm. YouTube. That's what everybody tells me about. They go to YouTube.
It's easier for them to. Yeah, I guess it's just. I don't know. You going to the YouTube page and going to our website. Actually, putting in our website is a little easier. But the great thing is that once you click on this video, for example, you'll be able to see all the other videos that are in the video library. So they'll be able to see past broadcasts from even a few years ago. Yeah. And
as soon as these issues gets a little less, I think I mentioned this a couple of broadcasts before. We're really going to have some archive videos. At least
that's going to be great.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we're going to show some clips. Okay. So if your mama or your grandmama's not in there, you better you can give us a call. Because you're going to see some things. Of course, it'll be edited, but we think you're going to enjoy it. Okay. So, and all of those who know me, that we've had some videos since 1990. So just be prepared. Okay. So we'll see you next week. God bless, and thank you, April, for your engineering abilities.
Thank you, Brother Edward. It's always a pleasure, and I always appreciate the fact that you have me as a part of the Whittemore Community Magazine family. And because it's a family affair, if you think about it. I mean, there's people think this is easy, but we have some folks behind the scenes that are helping us too. So. Oh
yeah! Look! I can't get her in here, but Joella, where are you?
I would love for Sister Joella to step into the studio. We'd love to see her.
She works behind the scenes.
Yep, she works behind the scenes. She's going to have to step in at some point because, typically she's our historian.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Right. We need some good old Black history right now. Mm-hmm. Absolutely. But yeah, next week sounds good, Brother Edward. I'll follow your lead. I'll wait on you.
Okay. You'll wait on me?
Yep.
All right. I'm leaving.
All right. Have a good one.
Thank you for watching the Whittemore Community Magazine's Hour of Power Live on Facebook with your host, Edward McQueen and April Garner.